So I got to play an early build of WWE 2K25 recently, and I have a lot to say. And as always, a massive shout out to small independent startup company 2K for having me out to do cool stuff like this. So WWE 2K25 has some big new or returning features, at least what we know so far, such as intergender wrestling, the underground match, promos, online MyGM, etc. I also got to go ahead and play with some of the new superstars that are going to be in the game this year, such as All Ego Ethan Page, you got Jacob Fatu, you got Sol Ruca, you've also got someone like Kelani Jordan making her series debut as well.
You are looking at the new enforcer of the bloodline.
You can also now go ahead and move the camera around during the entrances, and it's one of my favorite changes. Very few of you will have been around for my 2K era, and specifically the days of Deonte Inferno in the My Career universe or my custom GM modes, but this is the kind of feature that I would have killed for. It gives creators a chance to get angles mid-entrances that we had to mod in before, so I think that's super cool. And I think more than anything else, it really just adds a bit of extra variety to the entrances as well. Like, say for example, if you've just had a really long universe mode session and you've got your entrances, you've just made it to WrestleMania, maybe you don't want to see Jacob Fatu's entrance as you've been seeing on Raw and SmackDown or wherever he is. Also, as I mentioned, Sol Ruca is officially in the game after rumors she was left out last minute in 2K24, and there was evidence that she was going to be in that game. She is in 2K25. And man, is she fun to play as. But Bazooka that Sol Ruca, Bazooka that Ward. Does anyone remember that advert? Is that a Rogue reference? Probably a Rogue reference.
So Bazooka that Veruca, Bazooka that Ward.
It was also in this match against Xavier Woods where I remembered another new thing that they have in this game, being the ability to climb and jump on the barricades. And in case it wasn't obvious, the award for most fun to players in this early build was Sol Ruca. Her moveset and the counters back and forth, the fluidity to set up for the Soul Snatcher, it's a chef's kiss, man. But obviously, as I mentioned, one of the big things that they're touting, at least early into this point on the road to the game, is the intergender matches and the return of intergender wrestling. And so that was one of the first things that I went ahead and loaded up in this game. One was an intergender Royal Rumble, and the other was Rhea Ripley versus Dirty Dom. I did notice that during Dominic's entrance, they referred to him as a woman rather than having unique commentary for the intergender stuff, so hopefully that's something that'll be fixed in the final build of the game, or maybe it was just a glitch that I saw.
Does this woman have the answer for Ripley's trademark toughness, do you believe?
Or maybe it wasn't a mistake, maybe it was completely intentional, because Dominic Mysterio really does remind me of a female dog. He's a bit of a bitch.
Oh my gosh.
The Royal Rumble I played featured a completely accurate depiction of my boat Natalya beating the bricks off Jacob Fatu.
Gotcha, bitch.
Until the end of the match when I got hit with some shot clack cheese. I will say though, even though we can take her for granted because she's been around forever and she's been in these games for 15 years now, Natalya did look amazing. I loved her attire. I loved how her face and model looked. She looked pretty amazing in what is her final WWE 2K game before that Total Divas reboot was announced later this year. When it comes to backstage brawls though, as you know, you can now do them with up to 8 superstars, which is going to be absolute chaos. But there's also the WWE archives available to fight in now, as well as the NXT parking lot. I really hope that these are the kinds of things that they continue to build on, and please, for the love of Jeebus 2K, in one of these iterations, in one of these new games, helicopter, I need Here Comes the Pain, old SmackDown Games style, in one of these backstage areas as soon as possible. Merci beaucoup. New backstage areas feature tons of environmental interactions and Easter eggs from WWE memorabilia in the archives. You can see Lita and Brett cutouts, there's an Over the Limit sign, there's a WWE Scratch logo, WCW Survivor Series signs, the Statue of Liberty, and more. Oh, and you can also see that WrestleMania 30 Triple H throne, which a certain someone destroyed once upon a time. Playing as Jacob Fatu was a very close second for most fun new person in this build. Now this right here is where I became a wild Samoan. I love you, Jay, but don't you ever fucking yeet in my face like that again. I'm about to go crazy. And so that's exactly what I did, because when I don't like you, I become the world's greatest hater. So I jumped off the scaffolding, squashed him, and then DDT'd his tomato soup for brains into the concrete. There's a prime bottle at ringside now. Electrolyte. I think the steady improvement to backstage brawls, while great, I do have one critique. I still feel like with these modern games, there's something about the way the game moves and the way it feels that lacks the chaos I need for backstage brawls. And while I think we're getting closer and closer, I think I need even more. And at times I need it to move a bit faster paced to contribute to the chaos happening on screen. But speaking of the Bloodline, despite the fact they're not a team by default in this game when you pick Jimmy and Jay, they do have the original Bloodline entrance hidden, which is pretty generic, but it defaults to this instead, and it has the name and everything instead of the separate entrances. And so I assume maybe with the final build of the game, they will have like all the set, you know, original Bloodline and other Bloodline, new Bloodline entrances in the game. I'd assume that's where they're going with that. And the Wild Samoans also had an entrance together too, which wasn't set by default in this build and exhibition, but we did see it in the showcase. And that same showcase match also confirmed Captain Lou Albano too.
Scary situation for Lyra. Oh, look at this. Maybe not. No way. There's no way. Oh, my. Oh, no. Good night, Annihilator. Queen of the ring. Nia said she would do it, and she backed up her claims.
Hey, so, Nia, congratulations on Queen of the Ring. But I can't help but notice halfway through that match here in the World Wrestling Federation, there was no flat back bump. This is a flat back bump. I also remembered that there's alternate paths and cutscenes in Showcase, so you know I had to see what would happen if Lyra became the Queen of the Ring.
Valkyria has done it. She's written a happy ending to the Cinderella story. Valkyria claimed that she only travels as the crow flies, straight to the top and straight to the crown.
Yeah, for some reason when Nia Jax won Queen of the Ring, he was all over it. He was like, congratulations, Nia. But then when the Irish girl won, he was like, you're Irish? Big fucking deal.
Look at this.
I then played the Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins showcase match from the 2022 Royal Rumble.
Big pop right there, the Shield. You can't help but have a little nostalgia. Seth freaking Rollins is your new freaking champion. After 516 days, the historic reign for Roman is over.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that's special about him winning in this scenario other than Saxton mentioning the amount of days that Roman had been champion to that point and Rollins spinning the title around. Although I gotta go ahead and say, for as much as I love Seth freaking Rollins, seeing him in the Shield gear with the blue Universal title doing the spin, it feels like I pressed randomize in a game. Randomize, randomize, randomize. None of it feels right. Now, I was very excited to see Ethan Page in this build because I love all ego. Like, as you guys may be aware, and as you may remember, Shawn Michaels does watch my YouTube channel, so you remember that video a while ago where I said, Shawn, pick up the phone, you need to sign Ethan Page to NXT, and he listened to me.
But I think he got let go from AEW, or he left, whatever, he didn't re-sign, whatever. Either way, listen, hear me out, I know you watch the videos. Shawn Michaels, I beg. Now.
I'm also slowly growing to love his WWE theme, even though his AEW one is my preferred. It's not terrible in WWE. I don't know, there's something about the way it flows that the more I see him on TV and on pay-per-views and stuff, I'm like, I'm kind of, Speaking of people who jumped ship, Jade Cargill makes her on-disc debut after being DLC a few months ago, and she looks sensational. Her entrance is full of aura that only she brings. You know, I like to think low-key the reason Ethan Page and Jade Cargill jumped ship is just so they could be in a wrestling game that actually works, but what do I know?
And they will leave you laying. The Dudleys have one mission in mind. Prove they are the greatest team in history.
Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley have their retro editions in this game, which is very perfect timing for me because I've been watching 2000 WWF for the first time, and them Bubbas are menaces to society. Like, recently I just saw them powerbomb Mae Young through a table. They're powerbombing everyone. I think they did it to Trish Stratus a couple weeks ago on this episode I was watching as well. Then Mae Young gave birth to a hand. I don't know what the fuck's going on in that era. Now, in the interest of fairness and not just completely glazing this game so far, I'm never going to be the kind of creator that goes over the top with what is an early build of the game. I'm not going to be like, oh my god, WWE 2K25 could be an all-timer. I would never say those two words. You sound insane. We've still got a ton of roster to reveal, more game modes, and they announced the island too. I'm very interested to see how that's going to change the game genuinely, because obviously we had the city in NBA 2K, and that, you know, did what it did for that franchise. So I'm interested to see if the island is going to be similar to that, and if it's going to add a new angle to wrestling games that maybe we've never seen before.